Dave here, how are you? I've just been running some timber over my new 8-inch jointer, and to say that I'm happy with the result is an understatement. This is such a nice machine. For those of you who don't know my situation, this is a Carbotech machine. I work part-time for Carbotech, a few days a week, so just declaring that right at the beginning. Now, they don't pay me to do these videos. They don't ask me to do these videos. I'm surrounded by these machines all day, and they call out to me and they say, take me home. So I have. I've bought a few of them, as you can see around my workshop. This particular model is now the X stands for the fact that it's got a helical head. Don't get confused with spiral. Spiral is an increasing diameter. A helix stays a constant size. That's all that it is. All of these machines are helicals. All right, so basically that's a cylinder with segmented teeth all the way around. This particular one, all of the teeth face forward. They face forward. Now, if they were tipped over at an angle like some of the other heads do, they can't have flat teeth anymore. They have to be rounded. One of the reasons I bought this machine is because it carries the same cutting knives as my thicknesser. I've got a 15-inch thicknesser, exactly the same knife. So they're all interchangeable. I didn't want a situation where, you know, I had to have a whole set of knives for one machine, a whole set of knives for another. It's like batteries in drills, cordless drills. A lot of people have got a few different types of cordless drills, and you find you've got different batteries and you're charging stations all over the place. It's a whole lot easier if you stick to one type. But just roughly, this machine here, 8-inch wide. That's the width of the bed. Nice, big, long Infeed table. What I did, I paid for it, and I went down to pick it up, took my little trailer on the back of the little car, down. They brought it out on a forklift for me, popped it on the trailer, I strapped it down tight, drove home very slowly, and got it home here. And then, fortunately, I've got a little dingo, so I could pick it up with the tines on that and bring the 2 boxes into the workshop. Now, if I didn't have those, if I didn't have the dingo, I still would have been able to do it, but I would have had to get a friend to give me a hand. Now, assembling it, with the box is the right way up, but the machine is upside down inside it on purpose. It's showing you inside the cabinet. There is a jockey wheel, and there's a belt, I think, and a couple of other bolts and things. I've got a picture here of everything that's in that first box. Put the jockey wheel on, turn the machine up the right way, took off the sides and wheeled it around, and this was the first little bit of grief I had with the machine. One of the wheels was catching. They're steel wheels. It was catching on the mount a little bit. So I took the wheel off, drilled a hole where it was catching, and it cleared it, and that's fine. It was not an issue. Away we go. Beautiful cabinet. Everything's rolling. Took the sides off the cabinet so I could get to the motor. Next thing was to bring in the bed. Now, the bed is the heaviest part of this setup, and it's in a plywood box. Now, with that plywood box, the machine is bolted to the bottom of that plywood box so it doesn't slide around in shipping. Could be an issue if you're trying to slide it off. So it's not just going to slide out of the box. You've got to pick the box up and undo the nuts and get it off. Now, you might find that when it's being picked up by a forklift, they might have bumped one of those bolts or nuts, and it might catch or might be a little bit bent. So you've got to just spend your time, get a couple of spanners and undo them. Right, now I picked the machine up, I picked the cast iron bed up and popped it on top of the roller end cabinet, and there's 8 bolts that lock it onto there. So just find the holes, put the bolts in, don't tighten them up until you've got them all in, because you might find you just have to sneak the cast iron top around a little bit to line up with the holes, but it all went in lovely. Now, I use ball head hex drive wrenches. They are so much easier than the tiny little wrenches that you can get or that come with the machine. So it's well worth investing in them. They're great. You know, they let you get in anywhere and they stop you swearing. Guaranteed to stop you swearing. All right, now we've got the machine up here. Then I took the protective paper off, and this is where the second little disappointment came along. One of the beds had a slight scratch on it, only tiny, but when it's brand new and you peel that paper back, you don't expect to see a scratch. Since I've been using it, I've put truckloads of scratches on it. So really, it was a get over it princess situation. The fence. They don't tell you much about the fence in the instruction book on how to put it on there. They just tell you how to adjust it when it is on there. So what I did was I connected the fence to the actual fence mount, which is the slide that lets it travel backwards and forwards. I connected that first. Then I slid the fence forward a little bit on the mount and then sat it on the table. The good thing about that is that it sits correctly. If you don't do it this way, you run the risk of the mount for the fence being too low and it won't actually come up over the top of the table. It'll, you know, bump into the side. 2 bolts, pop them on, tighten them up. Now down here is a foot. Now this foot slides on the outfeed table. So that's governing your height for everything. So you push down hard on that, tighten up the 2 Allen head bolts, the hex head bolts on the back of the body, and that's it. It's not hard. Now, next thing to do is to pop the drive belt on. You wind it over the pulley at the top and then feed it onto the pulley down the bottom. They suggest that at the mid-span of the belt, you should have an inch movement maximum. So I tested that and then I lowered the motor down a little bit. It's on a slide. Basically, there's slotted holes in the cabinet, so you can undo all 4 bolts. Just loosen them off. You don't have to take them right off. Lower it down until you think it's fine. Nip them up. Make sure that the motor is staying level. You don't want it twisting because you might throw drive belts off. And nip it up and then just check for movement and check for the play to make sure you've got an inch. When you get an inch, tighten them right up. Leave the sides off the cabinet still. We're not finished with that. Then the next thing to do is put the cover over the top of the top pulley up the top here, and that's pretty easy to do. There's only 2 bolts, a couple of nuts underneath. That's why I said leave the cover open for the moment. Then we're just about there. You've got to bolt the support arm for the on-off switch. Then you pop the switch on top of the arm. I used a couple of zip ties down the side here. They're not supplied, but rather than the wires getting in the way, that worked well for me. The jockey wheels on, that's all done. Right, now setting it. First time I used it, I was a little annoyed because this block here, this is an aluminium block that sits in front of the cast. It was down about 1.5 millimeters, which was catching the timber. So I had to loosen the 3 bolts that hold that block on, bring it back up into line, nip it up, and it's perfect. The other side I didn't have to touch. The Infeed side was beautiful. Now, as I say, there was a couple. I'm doing this warts and all because I just wanted to share the experience that I had. Taking all of those downsides into account, would I have still bought it if I knew that they were there? Definitely. The cut this thing delivers is beautiful. The fact that all the knives are interchangeable with my other machine, that's a no-brainer. This is a great machine. Setting it to 90 degrees on the fence, or 45, you can do 45 obtuse, 45 acute. When you set it to 45 acute, you've got a little nut and a bolt and a lock nut at the bottom, and you can't really adjust those until you've set the fence in position and tighten it up, because if you move the fence up and down, it's going to affect that setting as well. The 45 obtuse is up the top, the fence just hits that, so you can adjust that easily as well. The 90 degree stop, there's a little positive stop there that you can lock, and it puts a pin into the rotation point on the back here of this little shaft. It's fine, but it'll give you maybe a couple of degrees slack. So I keep a square in this little drawer here, pop it on there, right here. I don't put it on this side, I don't put it down there, I put it right here, because that's where the timber is coming off the cutters. I'm getting as close to as possible. This is the side that governs everything. The infeed is just holding the timber up. It's after the timber goes over the plane cutter and rests onto there, this is your governing side. Okay, so I set the square up there and then nip it tight. Make sure that the fence support is also nipped tight like the sliding table, because if that's loose, well, the whole thing's going to be wonky. So make sure that's tight. What else have we got there? You can adjust. There's a grub screw there as well. You can adjust that 90 degrees to get it, if it bumps out for any reason, away you go. What else? The outfeed table, you can set it so that it has, it's perfectly in line with the top of the cutter heads. Now, unlike a machine that's got conventional straight blades, this one, you have to set the outfeed to the top of the travel of the individual knives. You can't raise and lower the knives. They're on a set block. There's no adjustment on the mounts for the bearings. It's all set. You must move this table to sort it. Now, it should arrive from the factory perfect, but if it doesn't, it's pretty easy to do. You release this. On the back, I'll show you, there's a couple of adjustment bolts, and they push against a part that has been bolted to the outfeed table underneath. So it's like a little stop, and you push against it and lock it in position. Once you've got that side done, nip it up again, and away you go. Now, I found these tables to be coplanar straight off the bat, which made me very, very happy. Coplanar means that that the infeed table and the outfeed table are on the same plane. There's no twist. They're dead level with each other. If they're not, you're not going to get straight timber. It's going to come out like a propeller. Okay. Now, on the infeed table, you've also got a couple of positive stops on the outside here, just around the back. I'll show you some photos of those. And you can set the top of the travel, and you can set the bottom of the travel. Now, I've set mine for around 5 or 6 millimeters maximum depth, just because I'm really not going to use it any more than that. You can go down to 16 millimeters. It's incremented in metric and also in imperial, so 16 millimeters, 5/8 of an inch. Now, why do I want that deeper cut? In case I'm rebating. Okay, so we'll get to that rebating in a minute. Once we've got it up to the top and it's dead in line with this, you do this with a straight edge. Use an aluminium straight edge if you can. If you haven't got anything like that, go for a really, really straight jointed piece of timber. Run that across. Get it as accurate as you can. You'll feel it. Once you've put the timber over the cutters a couple of times, you can adjust it, do some fine adjusting. You'll know if it's doing a cut or not doing a cut. It's easy to find out. Right, so we set it up to the top, and then you undo this little screw here and adjust this gauge to the right position. Bring it up to naught, lock the screw, done. So you can always, wherever you are on the dial. Right, the blade guard. This is traditionally called a mutton chop guard because it looks like a mutton chop. With this one, if I'm wanting to do some rebating, you undo the grub screw down here, and again, the ball head Allen keys, hex wrenches, are brilliant. As I say, keep a couple of those as well. Undo that, maybe 2 turns. This pulls up, pops out of the way. You bring the fence forward. I'm not taking the guard off at the moment. Bring the fence forward to whatever width from here back to there that you need, and then you can release this and drop it down to the depth of the rebate. Now, why would I want to rebate on a jointer? I don't. I never do it. I always use the router table, or I'll use the table saw. The router table is the absolute easiest way and the most accurate. This is, if I'm in a hurry and don't want to set up the router table, I can get away with a rebate here. Half lap joints on drawers, things like that, this does it easy. I want to put the blade guard back in, but I can't do that with the fence like that because I can't get it around to get that flat presenting in front of the grub screw anymore. So how we do that is we release the 90-degree stop, release that, up we go, and lock it. Now the blade guard can travel all the way around underneath where the fence used to be. Tighten it up, pull it back a little, hand under there, a little bit of a contortion act, and put the pin back in for 90 degrees. See what I mean about a little bit of movement there? Lock it, set your 90 degrees, lock it up properly. Beautiful. There you go. Of course, you've got the cabinets covers on it as well. They're pretty easy to put on. There's 3 screws at the bottom. They just get loosened. They don't come out. You only take the top 3 screws out. The reason being the holes at the bottom are slotted holes all the way through. You just drop the side in, nip the screws up, done. There you go, and great machine. Absolutely love it. Okay, thanks for watching. As per normal, some links down in the description box. If you think it's worth a like, give me the thumbs up and keep coming back. See you next time. Bye.